I've done nowhere near enough research.
Play the theme music. Hello and welcome to this episode of Tripology. I'm Alan and I'm here with the ever underprepared, it's Adam.
Mate, I've done no preparation. What's going on?
Well, that's unlike you. I think of the two of us, you usually are the more prepared guy.
Yeah, you would have thought so, mate. I've been in New Zealand now for about 6 weeks, and I've been very, very fortunate to have experienced many things over the last 6 weeks. But very unlike me, I've done absolutely no research going into these expeditions or, these tourist attractions, these national parks that we're going to talk about today. And hopefully this episode could be somewhat informative so that people listening to it, when they come to New Zealand, they have a little bit more information than I did.
Yeah, okay, cool. Excited to hear about it. Normally I consider you almost erring on that ever so tricky corner of being over-prepared. Oftentimes you'll come at me with a plan where you're like, right, today I want to eat this plate, I want to go here, I want to see that thing, and I get taken up in the swell of the current of your preparation, and I just think, well, I'll just do that then, because that sounds like a very holistic plan. So it's interesting that as soon as we've parted ways, we've left our company now, all that preparation, the whirlpool of your planning has gone out the window.
But do you think that you're more like a go with the flow kind of guy? Out of the two of us, you are, I suppose. And maybe now that you're not here, I'm trying to sort of channel my Alan energy.
Well, I'm sort of a parasitic young traveller. I sort of find a group that has a plan and like a dirty little leech, find myself on the underside of their shoe, sucking out the energy from what they want to do. I pride myself on being able to sit at a hostel breakfast table, overhear a plan being made, and then I sort of saunter over. I put my chest down for a moment. I go saunter over and go, oh, hello. I can't help but overhear that you're going on a hike. Perhaps you might need me to come along.
Yeah, I suppose you're right, man. I mean, I should take a leaf out of your book, and this is something I didn't know whether I was going to admit live on air, but I probably should, because I do see this as me talking to my best mate about some travel woes. Now, I would go as far to say that saying goodbye to people on a regular basis is our bread and butter. Is that not fair?
I butter my bread with it daily, yes. Goodbye, I'll see you never again.
And I like to think that I take that sort of stuff in my stride. Travel communities are fairly transient. People come and go, and you're in different places all the time, sometimes for different lengths of time, rather frustratingly, because you bond with people in, sometimes just a few hours, and then the next day you're waving them goodbye. And I feel like I'm quite resilient to that sort of stuff because of the experience and the length of time that we've been traveling. However, over the last couple of weeks, I've met some exceptional people, and I've found it incredibly difficult to say goodbye to them.
Okay, yeah. Do you think that your resilience to saying goodbye has been built up over time, hardened by a life on the road? Or do you think there's a naturally sociopathic equivalency in your brain that allows you to easily be like, goodbye, and then be detached? And that's sort of being broken now.
Yeah, I don't know what it is, mate. I mean, you don't necessarily have the skill set going into traveling or backpacking for a long time, and it's maybe something you develop over time. I think of myself as maybe a mountain lion, quite solitary, and I'm able to do a lot of things independently, and I like spending a lot of time on my own.
Mountain lions, of course, also known by the name cougar.
Yeah. I mean, maybe I'm slightly more sociable than a mountain lion, because you rarely ever see them mixing and mingling, do you? But I've just been hit quite hard, and maybe it's maybe to drill down into the situation a little bit further and give you some context. I've stayed stationary in Auckland, whereas people are moving through Auckland. So maybe that's the difference, is that I'm waving goodbye to people who are going on to do different things, and I'm the one who's staying put.
Yeah, there's two sides of a travel coin, isn't there? Because people often message us and they're like, oh, I'm a really sociable attachment style person. I'm worried about my friends back home. I'm worried about drifting relationships, that sort of thing. Both are true though, right? It's like you can form really strong attachments really quickly whilst traveling. And often you also have to be prepared that those attachments are fleeting and momentary and do like fade into obscurity as people move around the country that you're in. But it is possible to maintain those relationships long term. All of my best friends are people that I've met traveling, so it's a different thing, isn't it?
Yeah, no, it is a different thing. And I think noticing that I've been hit much harder than usual is something I've been thinking about over the last few weeks. Because when the person leaves, and I mean, I've even helped some of them go to the airport, so it's really quite a strange thing. I mean, they're definitely going, and I've been the person at the very last moment that they're going to be in this country, right? So when I get home on my own, I sort of feel all sad and glum and think to myself, it's actually really shit that they've left now. And maybe because the highs are so high, the lows are much lower. But
well, it's partly because you're staying put in New Zealand, so you're sort of slowly moving into your Kiwi life, and you're going through what a lot of the people in our lives usually go through when we meander off to our next occasion. You've kind of done a role switch, haven't you?
Yeah, I suppose you could say that. And these fleeting moments, if you only ever have positive interactions with people, then I guess your lasting memory is always going to be positive. And it's easy to sit there and think, God, if there was just one more week, or if there was one more month, or if that person who came into my life was living here as well, I'm sure that an amazing relationship or bond could form. So maybe in some scenarios, short and sweet is better.
Definitely, yeah. I would love the audience who is listening to this show right now to give us a message, because I think it's one of the common backpacker laments, this sort of feeling of, oh God, I loved that person so deeply, so quickly, and now they're gone. I would love to hear the stories about that. If people can go to tripologypodcast.com, there's a form on there where you can just write. Tell us about your sort of relationship woes, both platonic and romantic.
Yeah, I think that's going to be really good, because as you've heard me pour my heart out there, 10 years on, this will be the 11th year traveling the world and living abroad, and I'm still not immune to it. I do still suffer from this sort of stuff. So get those messages in.
Yeah, totally. Love to hear from you. We'll read them out on the show. Adam, how is everything else, mate? You said you're staying put in Auckland. Are you enjoying New Zealand? Have you seen a kiwi bird yet? Have you eaten a kiwi fruit yet? Have you gone and done any hackers or anything like that? What have you been up to?
I've been up to loads, mate. I am staying put in Auckland for a little while, just laying low, seeing what the options are like and seeing where I want to base myself. As you know, I did have the lovely Lulu, the car that I was driving around, and I was able to get to the far away places that not many people are able to get to unless they do have a hire vehicle, because the infrastructure here is not great. If you're going to be getting buses and stuff, you're going to get stuck, I think. So my advice would be hire a car or team up with someone, get a camper van, or hitchhike. Hitchhike, of course. A little nod to our previous show there. But what I want to talk to you about today, mate, is two fantastic things that I've done over the last few weeks. Now, one of them is a great walk. New Zealand, very famous for its great walks. I don't know if you're aware of them, but a lot of people come to New Zealand specifically to do them.
Yeah, I know there's some social media influences right now walking from the Shire, the set of Hobbiton, to Mount Doom, the place that stood in for Mount Doom in, of course, one of the best film trilogies of all time.
Oh, really? Okay, that's cool. I unfortunately haven't done any of the great walks in their entirety. However, I have walked 25 kilometres of one of them.
Okay, and how was that for you? Of course, you're a very good walker. I've watched you walk for many, many hours. How did it go?
It was great, but I mean, it didn't come without its challenges. So I'll just quickly set the scene for you. The Abel Tasman National Park, which is in the very top corner at the tip of the South Island, just around the corner from Nelson. Wonderful, wonderful national park. It's stunning coastlines, dense forest, beautiful sandy beaches, and to quote the Abel Tasman National Park website, some lush native bush.
Oh, yeah. Lush native bush at Abel Tasman.
But yeah, mate, there are 11 great walks. Check them out on the internet. Maybe I'll list them in the description. Give you a little link there to go and look at.
I love that.
But the Abel Tasman National Park, the walk itself is about 60 k's in one direction. It goes through a number of bays. And as I said, it is a coastline. So it's really, really cool. There's two places. One's called Kaiteriteri and one's called Marahau. Now, there are ferry taxi services from those locations that will basically take you up the coastline to different points and inlets and bays, drop you off, and then you can walk back or catch another boat back. That's pretty cool, isn't it?
Really cool. Yeah, man.
So I would highly recommend doing that. I'm telling you this, and I didn't know any of this until I turned up at Marahau. So you can imagine me walking into the reception of this ferry taxi business and saying, "Oh, what goes on here? Like, how do we do the walk?" And they said, "Oh, you've got to get on a boat. We can book it all for you." And I was looking up and down the coastline at the different bays that I wanted to get to, and one of them's called Bark Bay. I sort of said, "What's the most beautiful? You know, what do most people do? How much time have we got?"
Oh, it's got to be Bark Bay, mate. It's absolutely fucking stunning.
Well, I didn't get there until about midday, which is late, apparently. And I said, okay, well, that's fine. I'd like to go to Bark Bay and maybe I'll just walk all the way back. And the lady at reception said, walk all the way back?
From Bark Bay?
You won't get there until 1 p.m. because the ferry taxi will take an hour and then it's 25 kilometres. So I think you'll find you'll be walking back in the dark.
Yeah. I'll see you tomorrow, you idiot.
I was like, 25 kilometres? She said, no, trust me, it takes 8 hours. Definitely don't do it. I was like,
it takes someone with a little bit more experience than you 8 hours. So I hope you've not got work in the morning because you won't be there.
But I fancy a challenge. You know me, mate. 25 Ks. I mean, you can do that in an afternoon, can't you? 25 Ks?
I could do it if I was on one of those Lime electric scooters.
Yeah, mate, I've seen so many of those around Auckland.
I know.
These scooter things. Do you know, I've thought to myself, I know this is a massive tangent, but it's quite funny. There are a few people I've seen knocking around nowadays, and they are riding one of those, it's just one wheel with like a platform. Have you seen that? It's quite futuristic.
Yeah, they're called hoverboards, yeah.
Right, and then guys wearing helmets and elbow pads and knee pads. And a guy went past me the other day, dressed like that, like something out of RoboCop or something. And I remember thinking to myself, I am so far from being that guy.
Yeah, RoboCop, of course, a man who was in a severely disfiguring incident that led the police force to cybernetically enhance him in order to help fight crime. I think you are quite dissimilar.
But anyway, some people are just interested in some things and some people aren't. And I don't know what would have to happen in my life to make me think that I want to ride one of those dressed like that.
I mean, it's been a difficult journey for me just to get you interested enough in technology to do kind of basic things on the podcast, like film yourself and record your voice. So, yeah, I can't see a world in which you turn up to the show on a hoverboard.
Well, maybe I would have needed a hoverboard to do this 25K. So I'll talk to you a little bit about the experience. Got on the boat, no problem at all. We even nipped out to a little island and saw some seals. So some wildlife in that region.
Wow.
And then we scooted down the coastline. I was dropped off in Bark Bay. I did speak to the driver of the boat and he said, I think you'll be all right, mate. But it was that kind of, you know, he was an older guy. He's probably in his 60s or 70s. He's been around the block and he was too blasé. I thought, oh, fuck it now. I'm going to be...
Yeah. He said, yeah, you'll be fine, mate. And then he turned around and you heard him under his breath go, that pommy's fucked.
Yeah.
He started playing Another One Bites the Dust on the boat speaker system.
Yeah, he shouted off the boat, I hope you got your headlight, you prick. So anyway, I can't get across to you, mate, how stunning this place is. It's absolutely breathtaking. You've got these coves and bays, white sandy beaches, beautiful crystal clear water, and then lovely, it's like rainforest almost, lovely. There's waterfalls in there, little rock pools, Cleopatra's Pool, mark that one down, I'll put that in the description as well. But I absolutely booked it because I was so worried that I was going to be walking in the dark. I motored on really, really quickly. My cousin, who you remember I was with, she was dropped off as well, and she chose to just enjoy the afternoon at the beach like a normal person. So there we were. We separated. She was on the beach. She was sunbathing, swimming, doing all that sort of stuff. She got picked up by a ferry taxi on the way back. And then I was left to my own devices and essentially speed running this track. Now, I would argue that you should probably take a little bit more time than I did.
Yeah.
Because to do like 40% of the track in one afternoon is maybe not appreciating it in the way it deserves to be appreciated, because there are campsites and huts that you can stay at. Sure, you can have a barbecue. Sure, you can enjoy the beach, and you should probably explore the little offshoots and tangents and things like that. But I didn't have that much time, Alan.
You didn't need it to be breathtaking at all, did you? Because your oxygen was being depleted at the speed with which you were running.
Yeah. Exactly right. So I was moving much quicker than most people. I was overtaking a hell of a lot of people on the track. The track, by the way, is absolutely immaculate. So the guy said to me on the boat, the driver, he said, "Oh, even if you can't see that well, the track's pretty obvious." And I was like, isn't that an oxymoron? That sounds quite paradoxical. But I ended up catching these two French girls, and we did the last 5Ks all together.
You ended up catching them?
Yeah.
Okay. I've told you not to do that, Adam.
like a Pokemon.
Yeah, you on your walk in Abel Tasman with a butterfly net. I ended up catching these two French girls, and now my Pokedex is full to the brim.
With the famous Tripology chat line, "Are you a hitchhiker?"
No, we're walking.
I caught up with them, and they were doing the same thing as me. Actually, they had not realised how long the walk was going to be, and they were a little bit concerned about getting back with some light. So we were a good team. They did tell me towards the end, actually, that we were walking much faster than they felt comfortable.
Yeah, you were running on all fours behind them like a werewolf.
But we had such an amazing chat. They're really, really inspiring people. They were, a lot younger than I. They're 20, 21 years old. They've come on a working holiday visa. And that kind of stuff's just music to our ears, isn't it, mate? Because to meet people that have not only, I guess, found out about working holiday visas, but also taken the plunge. And, they've done their fair share of shit jobs, whether it's fruit picking or they're trying to make ends meet to pay for their vehicle and all this sort of thing. So I always find little interactions like that is so inspiring.
Yeah, it's inspiring, it's beautiful, and it's the second story of yours in a row on the podcast that's ended with a female French person. So that's nice as well. Good stuff, man. I don't know about you, but I desperately, desperately need, after that, to go on a brief meditation break.
I hate arriving at an airport and needing to prove I have an onward ticket before boarding the plane.
Oh, it's the worst. I don't know when I'm going to leave the country. Okay, I'm a traveller.
That's why instead of buying a flight, we use a flight rental service.
Yeah, it's so convenient. You just find a flight, rent it for 48 hours, show it to the assistant, they let you on the plane.
Onwardticket.com, they're a great company. Click the link in the description. Support the podcast.
Like a European ensconced within a butterfly net, allow your conscious mind to return into your brain as we embark on the second half of Adam's New Zealand adventures.
There I was, mate. I just finished the walk, and by the way, I did it with a couple of hours to spare. I even saw the sunset. So I can see the look on your face. You're surprised.
Did you have the ultimate satisfaction of approaching the woman that had given you the advice not to do it and say, back sooner than you think, aren't I?
No. She had already finished work, unfortunately. I was back after office hours, but I was still back an hour and a half earlier than she said I would be. So that was it. But wave the French girls goodbye, not before they hurt my feelings, though, inadvertently. It was, we talk often on the podcast about whether we feel old now as the elder statesmen of travel, being in hostels with people who are half our age and all that sort of stuff.
Well, yeah, half my age. I mean, you shouldn't be out here.
But this is actually the first time when I've picked up on something that has maybe made me think, oh shit, I'm no longer as young as I thought I was. We were sort of saying goodbye and this sort of stuff, just as they were telling me a story about someone they had met, and following on from the story, I sort of said, oh yeah, they were telling me about a guy, and I said, how old was he? And they said, he was about your age. I was like, oh, ouch.
Well, but was the story about the guy that he was sort of like aged, or
no? It was just about the fact that there was, that's how it was distinct, right? The difference, like I'm not from their generation. And they know that, and now I know that,
right.
Because we're backpacking and stuff, and we always sort of claim that backpacking has no age, and that it's all about being like-minded and sharing similar interests and this kind of stuff. when someone sort of reminds you, no, we're from different generations, mate. Put the butterfly net away.
Yeah, well, you're not used to that sort of thing. You're not used to that sort of thing because people often think you're really young. I mean, I get such varying accounts of my age. Sometimes people think I'm the age I am. One girl guessed that I was almost 8 years older than I am. I nearly threw her out of a bus. It was terrible. I had to just turn around and not speak to her anymore. I was disgusted.
8 years.
I'd woken up a bit late and I was a bit puffy and kind of, feeling a little bit down in the dumps. I'd been surfing, I'd been in the sun. She went, well, I think you're probably 38. I was like, get away from me.
That's really harsh. Have you thought about shaving your beard?
Yes.
Just to try and look marginally younger.
Bit much from her. I didn't like her very much anyway.
No. Mate, moving swiftly on, man, we have got one of the best things you can do in New Zealand to talk about. Now, I'm not going to make you guess what it is because I'm not quite sure you've actually done it. And I don't want to make you jealous, but I might be about to. Have you heard of Milford Sound?
Yes, I have heard of Milford Sound, and no, I've not done it.
So there's two main sounds in New Zealand. One of them is the sound of my voice. No, one of them is Doubtful Sound, and the other one, the more famous one, is of course called Milford Sound.
And what is a sound?
It's a great question, but I feel like places that are named sound, are they always Fiordlands, or are they sort of inlets and groups of islands, or I really don't know the answer to that question.
That's very honest of you, but they are places in New Zealand.
They are, yeah. They're both places, and to my knowledge, Doubtful Sound and Milford Sound are both on the coast. Milford Sound, amazing area, honestly. I mean, it is almost sort of Jurassic. You can imagine pterodactyls flying around and, it really does look like that. And the Fiordland National Park, which is down in the sort of southwest of the South Island, is super green. It rains quite often. And this is, again, me being sort of underprepared. I didn't really know going into Milford Sound what it was or what there was to do there. But I did know that I wanted to go, and I knew that it was somewhere that was very popular. We were told, countless times, you've got to go to Milford Sound, you should really do it. So for anyone who doesn't know what there is to do in Milford Sound, it's an area where the vast majority of people will go to this, I mean, it's not even really a village, and then get on a cruise, on a boat, organised sort of boat trip with tens of other tourists, and then for 2 hours, you cruise around through the Fiordland National Park, going up to various waterfalls and other things to see. There's a few animals and stuff knocking around, and then we paid $155. Mitre Peak was the name of the cruise company. We're not getting paid, but I think you should definitely use them because they were fantastic. And we went all the way out past the mouth of the inlet and then into the ocean. And that is apparently the furthest that any of the boats offering the tours go. And then we turned around and we came back down and we went, along the coast and saw some other bits and bobs. So all in all, mate, it was absolutely fantastic. But something happened on that boat that took my breath away.
Okay, you've spent a lot of this episode with no breath, I've noticed. I'm interested in hearing what it was.
I'll tell you that's up the app, actually, mate. I'll just run through the details, right? Milford Sound takes about 4 hours to get there from Queenstown. There's another town that's quite close by called Tianau. There's a few great walks you can do around there. I'll put those in the description as well. But this show is not about those. You can book all your tickets online. It's pretty straightforward to do. I was doing it frantically the night before. And it was quite an interesting journey to get there, actually. We ended up sleeping in the car just down a side road, me and my cousin. And then we booked the earliest ferry, which was I think 8:50 from memory in the morning. But in order to drive all the way there, we had to get up at some ridiculous time, like 5:30 a.m. and then just jump straight into the driver's seat and get all the way there. So it was pretty fun. We were obviously very tired and a little surprised. This is the thing that took my breath away, number one. I was very, very glad to know that with Mitre Peak, they offer free coffee and tea, which is a very nice service, isn't it? Not only is it one of the cheapest tickets, they also offer free coffee and tea. So you know how much coffee I drink in a day. I mean, they're losing money.
I'm on my third cup already this morning.
My goodness. You can tell by the way you're shaking. No, so my cousin, bless her, so funny. I said, we were there on the boat, we were with all the other people, we were looking at the incredible surroundings, otherworldly, honestly. And I said, Dan, I'm going to go and grab a coffee. Do you want one? And she said, yeah. She knows I take mine black. I said, how do you want yours again? She said, oh, can you just do me kind of a milky coffee with oat milk? And I went, with oat milk?
Use pterodactyl milk from one of those over there.
I said, with oat milk? They're not going to have oat milk. It's a free service. And she was like, all right, that's fair enough. But just in case there is oat milk, I'll have oat milk. If there's not, I'll just have normal milk. I walked in. I saw the array of things on the table. You got your coffee in sachets. You got tea bags in sachets. You got sugar in sachets. You got those tiny little wooden stirrers. And then guess what was next to it at the end of the table?
An oat in a harness being milked by 3 Kiwi men.
It was a jug with the words on it, oat milk. I was like, this is unbelievable. We live in a different time, Alan.
Yeah, I mean, we're in the future, aren't we? We've got AI, we've got oat milk.
There was normal milk as well. But I couldn't believe it. So there I came back, a tail between my legs. There's your oat milk. And
that's a very 19th century attitude from you, describing cow's milk as normal milk. What's abnormal about oat milk, Adam?
How much calcium is there in oat milk?
Too much for you. That's why you go for the normal milk.
I don't know what the definition of milk is anymore. But anyway, let me set the scene. We're herring along in this boat. Again, stunning surroundings. It is like we are in the middle of a Jurassic Park film set or something. It starts to rain and it's getting heavy as well. It's getting to the stage where it's actually uncomfortable. Now, half of the people on the boat are inside. They're taking cover.
Yeah.
The other half of the people are split between the very back of the boat, taking videos, as you would as a tourist. And then there's about 8 of us that have braved it at the front. Now, we're being weathered as we speak, right? I mean, the rain's coming in at a sort of a 45-degree angle. It's getting difficult to open your eyes.
Was that an allergic reaction to the oat milk? I can't open my eyes.
I may be a couple of seconds away from going back inside because it's almost unbearable. And then all of a sudden, I hear this gasp from the very front of the boat. I run over, stick my head over the side, and one dolphin is up and down, chase it. I can see the look on your eyes, mate. It was absolutely magical. There was a dolphin that was going so fast, swimming so fast, right next to the boat. I can't even get across to you how close it was. It was ridiculous. It was I feel like it was dangerous for the dolphin to be that close.
Yeah.
But it was almost like it was having fun with it. So it would go quite deep, and then we'd think, oh, we can't see it anymore. And then all of a sudden we'd just see, its body come closer to the surface, revealing itself. And it was rapid. I don't think I've ever seen anything swim so fast because the boat was going at a rate of knots. And then I got my camera out, started filming it. I wasn't just, I was actually crying at this point. I was so moved. And then it did one almighty jump and then back in, and it was there at the front of the boat for about 10 minutes. It was so magical, and it was amazing that only 8 of us got to see it. I mean, sometimes I don't really want that to add to the awe and the wonder, but the fact that about 90% of the people on the boat missed it, made it a bit more special.
I can see how that would be the case. Yeah, is that your first wild dolphin you've ever seen?
No. I've seen quite a few wild dolphins,
but it was the best one you've ever seen.
I think that is probably the first time when I've experienced so close. And I mean, the dolphin really was about as close as I am to this wall. And we're talking about a few meters away. It really was just over the edge of the boat.
Adam there, by the way, pointed to a wall that's off camera that no one, including me, could see. So thanks. It was about as close as you are to the wall. So that was...
only a few meters.
Right.
Yeah. The wall is a few meters away. And I'm just so wrapped up in this dolphin story. Honestly, mate, reliving it, it makes me emotional because it is probably the first time I've seen so much personality in a dolphin. It was incredible. It was just having fun with it. It was loving the attention. It was showing off. It was going down for as long as us to make us think that it wasn't going to come back up. And then it would come up and do a huge jump, like fully out of the water, its entire body, and then back in.
Do you think it was deliberately toying with you, teasing you.
100%. Yeah.
Nice.
He had a little look at I've got a video to prove it. I mean, I'm going on the Instagram. You can bet your bottom dollar.
He had a look at the camera.
Well, I mean, you make your own minds up. You have to go to the gram over the next few days, and I'll pop it on there.
That cheeky little bottle-nosed flirt.
Yeah, it really was magical, mate. It really was. And then when after 10 minutes or something, I mean, it got so long. I thought, all right, yeah, you've done your bit. You can.
The dolphin got long.
No.
Like an extendable dolphin.
It went on for so long, and then of course it went off and did its own thing. I don't really know what dolphins do when they're not on camera.
They go short again.
But then the lady who was running the boat, she came over to us and said, you really are very lucky. That doesn't happen even every week. So the fact that you've seen the dolphin like that right at the front of the boat and for that long, that long of a dolphin, I mean, you don't see those very often.
I love that for you, mate. Has it given you like an interest in aquatic creatures of the mammalian and fish variety? Because I know New Zealand's a place where you can also see great white sharks.
Oh, really? Great white sharks?
I think so. I think I have heard that they do great white shark tours, but they're not allowed to use churn to attract the sharks, so they use heavy metal music instead, because the vibrations get the sharks all riled up.
Yeah, I mean, I'll be honest, I was going to take up surfing, but now that you've said that, I probably won't.
You could combine those two hobbies, great white spotting and surfing.
Surfing. Seeing an animal up close like that, and we've spoken on previous episodes about when I was in Borneo and I watched that orangutan devour all those figs on the fig tree. It's it feels sort of so intimate, and very rarely I think most people, when they come into contact with animals, I know you're very different because you used to live in the Amazon, but we're talking like cats and dogs, really, aren't we? And maybe the odd rabbit and a guinea pig.
Yeah, I mean, if you're working in a research laboratory, yeah.
But the vast majority of people, the average Joe or Joess, will just end up with sort of a domesticated animal. But when you see an animal's personality shine so brightly,
Yeah, you have a very visceral reaction. Cried at a clouded leopard, was sick at an orangutan, and now you've got emotional again at a dolphin.
Oh,
so
I wasn't sick at the orangutan.
That's what you told me. You said it nearly made you throw up.
No, it did. I wasn't sick at it.
Oh, right. I thought you were doing it like an attack.
No.
To defend yourself.
I crept behind a tree. Far away from where the orangutan was, and did it discreetly,
destroying its habitat with your acidic stomach contents. Cop for this.
I was apologising to all the Nat Geo videographers. Yeah. Sorry, guys.
Good Lord, Adam.
Yeah, there you have it, mate. I know much more now about the Abel Tasman track and the national park and that whole sort of coastline. And I know much more about Milford Sound and what there is to do there. So if you are interested, then head to our website, tropologypodcast.com, jump on the old contact form section and send us an email. I'll tell you everything I know.
Totally. We love to hear from you guys. So definitely do that. We'll talk to you. We'll get back to you. We'll reply. We'll read stuff out on the podcast. Instagram. We've got instagram.com/tropologypodcast @tropologypodcast. My goodness, it's ever such a nice account. We post highlights from the show. Sometimes there's little bonus things. You can see me bouncing up and down in a seat in a bus in Brazil. That might be nice if you're into that sort of thing. And right now, Adam, what are we going to do?
We're going to go off to the Lost and Found section, patreon.com/tropologypodcast, where I'm going to tell Alan about a curveball that I was served up very recently.
I can't wait to hear the curveball with my ears as we go to the Lost and Found section right now, but we'll see you guys next week.
See you there. Bye.
Bye.